Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classics That's Known Classics. This is episode number 2245 and Doubleshot number 2139. I have two epic collections here. Now, here's one thing basically both have in common. They both have stories started in the late 60s and concluded in here in the early 70s. First up we have is a trade that, get this, has collected most everything printed in one of the essential Marvel collections. All except for like 3 comic books. I'm not kidding about that. It's literally the same book except for 3 issues. What book is it? We have the first epic collection for The Defenders. This is Epic Collection Volume 1, The Day of the Defenders. Yep. This book contains Doctor Strange 189. Actually, no, I think it was 183, was it? It was 183, Incredible Hulk 126, Submariner 22, 34, 35, Marvel Feature 1 through 3, Defenders 1 through 11, Avengers 116, 118, and Material for 115. The reason why the material is there is because it's a prelude to the story arc I'll discuss here. Doctor Strange 183, which is at the time was the final issue of the first line for Doctor Strange. From what I heard, it was canceled due to low sales, and this is a period of time where Doctor Strange wore a mask. Oh yeah, by the way, the writers of these issues are Roy Thomas, Steve Englehart, and the late Lee Wein. The artwork is done by Sal Buscema, Russ Audru, Bob Brown, Gene Colan, Herb Trimpe, Mary Severin, and Don Heck. Oh, and this covers from, get this, November 1969 and concludes in December of 1973. Now, I have to show this off here. Now, this here is the final issue of the original volume for Doctor Strange. Now, you're probably asking, Nick, why is Doctor Strange wearing masks and gloves? From what I heard, this was a Roy Thomas thing. Steve Ditko had nothing to do with this at all. This is mostly Roy Thomas, Gene Colan doing this. Yeah, it was more of trying to make him more of a superhero, but it didn't work. And when he came back, he ditched the mask. Basically, 183 introduced the concept of the Undying Ones. Yep. Now, you might be curious though about numbering. Like, why is this the first volume, and yet, here's the thing about the first volume. It didn't last very long. Why is it the 183? Well, there is a reason why that is. Because, at the time, Marvel decided to have it where Doctor Strange's numbering continued from the series Strange Tales. And then more brought back Strange Tales, ignoring that, but yet, when they gave Doctor Strange issue 400, or at least basically when they returned to attributed numbering, they stuck with this number for some reason. It's weird. Now, 183 is the first appearance of the Undying Ones. You have these group of like minor demons who appear in comics. And you might be curious though. Yes, they're demons who are creations of Roy Thomas and Gene Colan. Now, did they appear even after this issue? Oh yeah, they were like early villains for Doctor Strange and, of course, Defenders. They appeared for this story, the Submariner story, and Incredible Hulk, and the first issue of Defenders, and last time they appeared in this period of time was issue 20 Defenders. Yeah, they made scarce appearances over the years. Most of the story is this. Doctor Strange is called to visit his old friend Kenneth Ward, where he has died, and he meets up with the Undying Ones, gets trapped in a dimension by the end of the issue. But Roy Thomas had a plot for the wrap-up, so he decided to continue the story in the pages of Submariner. Now, if you read the story, you probably know that Submariner is using a water thing underwater. This weapon is a water breather. Well, there's a reason for that. Because in a previous story, his gills were sealed by an alien. No joke, an alien. Then he swam to the surface because something was calling to the surface. And he went to Boston, because that's where the story takes place, Boston. And he basically frees Doctor Strange from being trapped where he was. And he deals with a creature who at one point claimed to be the daughter of Kenneth Ward, and according to Doctor Strange, he had no daughter. And then the story concludes in Incredible Hulk, where he's another dimensional creature was in Nightcrawler. And after that, Doctor Strange retired. And he stayed retired for, you're probably thinking, how long did Doctor Strange stay retired for, you might ask? Well, for like a year. Yeah, so Doctor Strange comes out of retirement. There's this guy called Yandra, who basically is responsible for the creation of the Defenders. Yeah, in case you're curious, though, he's a creation of Jim Lawrence and Don Atkins. His first appearance was in Strange Tales 164. Yes, seriously. You're probably thinking, who the heck is Jim Lawrence? He was a writer who wrote for Marvel for a very brief period of time. Yeah, he only wrote just about 5 issues of Strange Tales, a couple issues of Captain Britain, issues 131 to 147 of Super Spider-Man Captain Britain, and that was it. Yeah. He's a British writer. And what about Don Atkins? Well, he actually has done some work for Marvel. Mostly he's an inker. He did books like, well, not only Strange Tales, Tales of Astonish. Worked on several books. His last book he worked on was Titans Annual 1997. Well, it was a reprint of 772. But yeah, they're the ones who created this guy. So at one point, this guy was dying, and he told Doctor Strange. You're probably thinking, wait, how is Doctor Strange back? They explained that backup story of how he came back, where he basically went back to his old home and found Doctor Strange there. Well, the masked version. He fights him, defeats him, and unmasked be Baron Mordo. Apparently, Wong never knew that Doctor Strange had, they're facing that mask. He probably didn't know. I thought it was kind of weird writing, but it's Roy Thomas for you. So Yara is dying. He's like, oh, haha, I unleashed basically a supercomputer going to destroy the world in an event of my death, known as the Omegatron. And you're all thinking, what? Seriously? The Omegatron. Yeah. Which, thing is, they actually kind of stop. Of course, he evolves to Hulk and the Submariner. And here's the strange thing. He evolves supposedly the Silver Surfer in this story too. But here's the thing about Silver Surfer. In these early appearances, he wasn't a regular feature part of the team. It's like Marvel didn't want to feature him as part of the team. Eventually he was. Issue 2, they have fighting Dormammu. Yeah, 2 is... Now, it's basically... It's actually successfully stop Obertar for now into issue 5 of Defenders. Yes. Issue 2 is basically them fighting Dormammu. We also have a guy named Tom Flanagan here. Just a party organizer. Clea is here. Yep. And it's mostly about them fighting Dormammu, basically with Doctor Strange stuff. And then basically issue number 3 is a very interesting issue, where the Hulk meets one of his most frequent recurring enemies throughout the 70s and made reappearance in 2000s, Zemu. Yeah, he even returned for the pages of all things Immortal Hulk. Oh, before I continue, I gotta talk about issues 34 and 33. This is the Titans 3 stuff. It's a quick 2-parter. It's basically the predecessor team 2 Defenders. They briefed the Avengers. It's basically Submariner, Hulk, and Silver Surfer, and they basically just deal with some minor threat here. They spam, but they return later with Defenders. Yeah, and by the way, they actually include this feature not only in this book, but also in stuff for Doctor Strange. Now, let me talk about Dormammu. Dormammu at one point called himself the Living Hulk. But that's him. Yeah, that's Dormammu. Yeah, he's this guy who they started where he's part of this TV show, and also have Jim Wilson pages of Hulk book. His previous appearance was actually in was back in 1960. In 1960, in Journey of Mystery 66. That was basically not technically his debut. It was actually 62, and he appeared for that. He only appeared like 2 appearances, and then like he didn't appear again until like a decade later. He also had a character named Jim Harper. Joe Harper. My guess is the reason why they feature him again after this 2-parter is probably because basically of, well, because named too similar to what happened pages of what happened over DC. So they fight him here, and then he's returning at issue 12. Yep, and it basically has something to start his own TV show. And then pretty much like right after this issue, they got their own book. Yep, the Defenders got the brand new book, and so basically you have Namor being trapped. They also return to the Undying Ones in this issue, where he's trapped and having this water thing. He's about to be sacrificed, and the whole issue, he's trying to free him, and of course, then it leads to a surf, which happens in the very next issue. Issue 2 is, well, we deal with the Warrior Wizards. Yeah, and they appear for like one at a time after this one issue of Saga Submariner. Yeah, in their appearance, a nameless one. The very next it should be Beware the Undying One. Oh yeah, and also we have Barbara Norris show up in this issue. And Barbara Norris basically becomes Valkyrie. Yep. It's almost like, yeah, we'll leave the next issue. Yeah, then we have Barbara becomes insane after the end of issue 3. Like, I think you like the whole her, and then, well, they go to a castle and they get trapped there, and then they run into, well, they run into the Executioner. Yes, the Executioner's here, but he's not the only one. They also run into the Black Knight. Yes, it was part of the Avengers. Yep, and they explain what was going on, how this, they explain here. After freeing them, of course, then Enchantress turns Barbara Norris into the Valkyrie, which she remained this to the present day. And like, oh, and then after he's freed, like, oh, I thought you loved me. And then starts up a recurring plot thread that leads into a classic crossover, where the Enchantress turns the Black Knight to stone. Yes, he is turned into a statue. Also, Valkyrie joins the Defenders. In this issue. Yeah, Submariner is not part of this next issue, but yeah, and yeah, that's there to set up a future plot thread. And in 5, we follow up what happened with the debut of the group, where Doctor Strange is absent because of what's going on pages of Marvel Premiere. Though, in actuality, they explain the next issue that later on they explain something else. And Valkyrie wanders about, attacked by some various wizards. And then we deal with Omegatron, which apparently it's just Valkyrie and Clea. 2 characters were not there when they find the course. Then we have him turn into this giant robot, and he's defeated within just a few pages. He gets his head chopped out by Valkyrie, and he's defeated, and he's, well, from what I can tell, never seen again. Yeah, as far as I can tell, he just made these 2 appearances. But not really. He did actually return for an issue of Hulk 243. Let's see. I think it was actually a flashback. He did pop up for a couple issues of Last Defenders. Yeah, for some reason he popped up there too. Yeah. But yeah, Megatron's dead. And then, like, the very next issue, they probably call it Cyrus Black. And this issue is his debut, and he appears a few times over the years. After this issue, he pops up in the issue of Doctor Strange, the issue of Tales of Flame 2, issue of the Avengers, cover issue of Terra, and this was the only time they fought him in this one issue. Oh yeah, so you have another one-shot character. Service returns the story deals with Cyrus Black. And of course, he's offended by the fact he's called a minor magician. Yes, seriously. And then we have, let's basically have Hulk, Namor, and Valkyrie take on Tuma with Hawkeye. And Hawkeye is here. The reason why he pops up here, this is another thing that sets up the classic story I'll talk about. So, yeah, Hawkeye joins the team in this very issue. Yes, Hawkeye joins the team. What, issue 7? He leaves with issue number 11. Yep. Yeah, it's mostly about Tuma teaming up with the Red Ghost from Agents of Fantastic Four. Yep. And this one feels like more of like a Namor style story that he just had with all with Defenders, which I thought was really fun. And it's a quick 2-parter. It wraps up with issue number 8. And 8, basically, the ending of this one, it's like it stops after they basically free the whole world. And then it goes to the prelude from Avengers 115, where we see Loki fall from a cliff. Yeah, this comes from the pages of 207 of Thor. Yeah, and then he runs into Dormammu. Yes, Dormammu. Oh, and Loki's blind. What's going on here? Well, we have the start of the classic story arc known as the Avengers Defenders War, which takes up issues 8 through 11 of Defenders, and 116 and 118 and 115 is just a prelude. So there's a short story that happened of it. So they finally saw the solution of how to cure the Black Knight, of them being a statue. Simple. Gather pieces of a device called the Evil Eye. So Doctor Strange sends the Hulk, Silver Surfer, Hawkeye, Valkyrie, and Submariner to various places to find the Evil Eye. And then continues in the pages of Avengers 116, where first we have, or after they deal with whatever was going on, of course they're brought before the front steps of Doctor Strange Kingdom Storm. So they recap the events of Fantastic Four. What issue of Fantastic Four was so apparently things were scattered. There's one in Fort Wayne, U.S., one in L.A., Osaka, Japan, French Peninsula, Mexico, and Bolivia in South America. So, first stop, and of course Loki gets the Avengers involved. Yeah, so I have to go first place to go to is we go to Silver Surfer, where he is on a French Peninsula, where there's a volcano. He ends up fighting Vision and Scarlet Witch, who are at this point in time. Yep. They fight them, and then we have this really awesome cover here. Look at Iron Man. Hawkeye's got friends. Okay, Bowsinger, you turn to get your former Avenger buddy, and now you're gonna pay. And Hawkeye's like, guess again, Shellhead. I'm a Defender now, and they take care of their own. And it's Hulk, Doctor Strange, and Submariner about to attack Iron Man. And here's the thing: this scene does not happen. Yes. Now, Hawkeye does fight Iron Man. That part is true. But Hulk, Submariner, and Doctor Strange do not get involved in this shoot. Nope. So basically, Silver Surfer informs the Avengers are involved in this affair too. So then we have, after Hawkeye is dropped off by Valkyrie, they're in Mexico. Yes, Mexico. And apparently Iron Man can speak Spanish because he's a businessman. Of course he can speak Spanish. Yep, and he basically defeats him. You have Doctor Strange in Indiana. Yes, Indiana. He takes on Black Panther and Mantis. Now, Sword won't want to take Mantis into South America, but no, Black Panther wanted her on the mission. Okay. Yeah, and then we lead into Submariner versus Captain America in Osaka, Japan. And you have Dormammu open the issue like, what is this? The Avengers fighting the Defenders? Yeah, what an awesome sight to see. Yeah, where he's angry. Yeah, and he's the main villain in the story. Dormammu, a Doctor Strange villain. So we have Swords vs. Valkyrie in South America. And he points out that despite the fact he worked with the Mandarin to conquer this place, apparently there's a group of people who have no problem with him. So then, of course, they find the Evil Eye, and of course, they get away. And then, of course, you have Submariner who's got the Evil Eye already. While he's in Japan, of course, he smacks across the face like, next move is yours. Okay, anymore. Smack! It's like, I've waited for years. Yeah, they probably fought for one panel back in Avengers number 4. And then Sunfire shows up, a character who's not really involved in this event, but the only reason why he's here, because they're in Japan, because of course we gotta involve Sunfire. Yeah, and then right in the next issue we have another round between Hulk and Thor. Well, they're in, I think they're in, let's see, where are they at? They don't say. So, he's looking for Evil Eye, fights him off, and eventually, well, they also try to pick up Thor's hammer. They continue fighting, and then basically, they're like, so like the battle continues like, ho, there's no need for such violence. Thor's like, by Odin's, but who? You? The Avengers together? Yes, united at last. Too overdue the lies that overstretch your throats. Ready common throw. And they do explain how the heck this happens. Like, they got all PC wait for Hulk to come back. And then it's like, oh, Submariner show. I'm like, ooh, got something strange going on. Like, good day, Defenders. I have brought guests. The Avengers. Like, you brought our enemies here? It's like, and then basically he explains what's going on. And eventually they converse. And I think it's so funny, though, the fact that you have Hawkeye giving Iron Man the cold shoulder. And giving cold shoulder to, of all people, Swords because of spare tire Avenger. That was so funny. Yep. And they go on and do the fighting. Yep. And then, of course, this thing. It's gone in pieces. It's some creature called All Seeing Server and Dormammu. Apparently, it was last seen back in Strange Tales 144. So basically, the very next issue in the finale is basically the Avengers versus Dormammu in the Dark Dimension. Yes. And then all of a sudden, S.H.I.E.L.D. shows up. Yes, S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury's banged up from what half pages of Captain America. Yeah. And you want more weirdness? Yeah, you like, haha, I'm basically wasted away. Haha. I'm a trap, you portray me. And it's like, you ever alerted the Avengers to the Defenders' quest? Further divides her to my plans. Holy, huge shadow falls behind me. By my sister, the Watcher! Yes, the Watcher is here. Because of course the Watcher shows up. He shows up big events, and this is a big event. And he's like, I knew you passed my defense. How you passed my defenses, Silent Moon. But I promise you, you will not interfere with my scheme. I will battle even you if you try. Calm yourself, Dormammu. Other times I act impulsively. Also, for some reason, his alpha is different than normal. My heritage yet raise, observe, and record. He's just basically to watch everything. Or awesome, mindless ones. Then we have the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, the Inhumans, Luke Cage, Ghost Rider, Man-Thing, Kazar, Dr. Doom is like, my Latveria is in flames, my kingdom's collapsing. And apparently even Dracula and Adam Warlock get involved. It's like, what? And apparently it's like, or it looked like Thanos. Yes, it looks like Thanos. Yeah, I think that's Thanos. Just attacking some random person, yeah. I mean, it just means that look like Thanos to you. I don't know if that's confirmed to be Thanos. Like, Saturn, Moon, and Titan, it's obviously Thanos. Yeah, it is Thanos. That's why Mickey Fish doesn't make a debut into like 1972. But yeah, this is an early cameo appearance by him. But it's like, oh yeah, let's have a cameo for Thanos. Yeah, Thanos is basically dealing with a threat to Titan. Yep. So they all big brawl. And you have Doma fighting a Thor. Everyone trapped in quicksand. Asgard's angry, so she proceeds to fire a bolt attack. And of course, you have Loki basically stopping him. And then you have Scarlet Witch firing a hex bolt at his back. Yes, Scarlet Witch. And then the evil eyes turn on Loki where he's able to see again, but he's mad. And of course, I think, oh yeah, everything's back now. I'm like, what? Like, what do we do? And of course, he does question the whole thing with the Vision later. But it's like, can't for yourself. And that would lead into Defenders number 11, which is basically the epilogue to the story. Yes, what happens in this story? Well, Loki's taken away, and the whole thing Avengers wiped from his mind, despite that he gets memories of it later. So they tried Evil Eye on Black Knight, but instead it sends the Avengers back in time to the Crusades. Yes. And apparently Black Knight's here in the Crusades for some reason. So I kind of forgot these were here. They also fight giant golems. Yes, golems. And this is a hilarious scene. Like, just walking about. Besides, what priest think? By Allah, your foot is green. Who are you? Hulk is like, alarm, punch. Like, okay. Okay, that I thought was funny. The fact these Arabs were be so comedic. Yes. Well, one of the things to do here from one side, and of course, then we have where Marjorie's got and hands Evil Eye, and then all of a sudden, like everything's going on, and all of a sudden, Prester John shows up, who was last seen back in 54. Yeah, and apparently Raheem Richards know him. So, and then eventually, Emperor and then Black Knight stays in the past. And basically, everybody goes separate ways for a bit until the return of Red Knight gets you. But yeah, this is awesome. I give this book a 10 out of 10. Now you might be curious though, is there going to be another? Oh, there's another book here. You might think, okay, is there like another book, another volume for this one? Yes, there's another one coming really soon. Don't worry about that. All right, next up we have is Guardians of the Galaxy. Epic Collection Volume 1. Yeah, there's Volume 2 of this one too in the future. Earth shall overcome. Now, this book contains the debut from Marvel Superheroes 18. Number 4-5. Giant Size Defenders number 5. Defenders 26-29. Marvel Presents 3-12. And Thor A number 6. This is the first half of the story. It's collected in Thor and Guardians of the Galaxy Tomorrow Avengers. Marvel Superheroes 18. It's their premature debut and how they came together. Your writer for the issues are late Arnold Drake, the late Steve Gerber, Roger Stern, Jerry Conway, Roger Sifler, the late Lee Wein, Chris Claremont, the late Stan Lee, Scott Eamon, the late Gene Colan doing artwork with Sal Bushman, Don Heck, the late Alec Milgrom, and John Bushman. Al Milgrom does all the artwork for the Marvel Presents issues. Yep. So, basically, in the case of the first issue here, done by Arnold Drake, it's basically kind of like how they got together. It's just basically their origin story. Yeah. So it's like the Earth's in control of what they're doing in the future. So basically they're rebelling against them. And yeah, it's a really good standalone issue. And by the way, this issue came out in, let's see if we can find the page here. I should point out, this came out in 1969. Next appearance is not until 5 years later in Marvel 2-1, 4, and 5, when you have Marvel 2-1 is basically a team book for The Thing. Teams of Captain America meets up with the Guardians Future, has venture there, and then that leads into the next appearance, which is the pages of Defenders, where they appear in Giants Defenders number 5, which is the last Defenders one published. And then we have 2629, which is basically their feature in there. And I think in this period of time is where Advanced Asterisk gets a chance to meet. Now, here there are members for. Yeah, the members between these issues are Advanced Asterisk, Marnix, Yondu, and Charlie 27. There's also Charlie 26, who's his father, makes his sole appearance. Yeah, and all from various ways. Advanced Asterisk from Earth. Charlie 27. He is from the planet Javelin. Yeah, people who were like. He basically from Jupiter. Marnix. He is from Pluto. And Yondu Centurion. They're from Centauri 4. Yeah, this is also his first appearance brotherhood, the Badoon, who still occasionally appears this very day. Yep. This is their debut and the Curse of Return for issue 5. Yeah, and the Defenders issues, they basically kind of continue the story there, where they're trying to rebel against them, and eventually Marvel Presents is where they wrap up their time with them, where they kind of liberate Earth in those issues. And the rest of it is basically more Avengers of the Guardians. Which concludes with Thor number 6, which was a guest appearance by them, because, well, why not? Now, if you're curious, though, this is okay, we're in Marvel Presents 3 through 12. Who was in the first 2 issues? A guy called Ulysses Bloodstone. Yes, he was the one in these 2 issues in particular. Mm-hmm. Basically, you can kind of think of it as Marvel Presents as the first series they had of their own. Now, in the Defenders issues, we had a debut of a character named Starhawk, which sometimes it's a guy or a woman. And 27 was the debut of this character, so it's like, oh, let's have Steve Gerber basically create a new character for him. Yep. Now, Advanced Astro, he would also influence his present-day counterpart. Yeah, in case you're curious, though, did he appear in these? He actually first appeared in Giant Spins number 5. Yeah, mostly put, he tries to influence his present counterpart by becoming like him. And that's mostly put basically what he's. It's kind of like basically like Marvel wanted to create a present day version of the character because they liked the character so much, so they created this guy. And mostly put, he appeared in these early issues. He appeared in the 1-issue Defenders, and he popped in the pages of Avengers. Yep. Marvel Presents itself, it's just basically just a really good feature. It's a good story for them. Al Milgrom does a great job of the artwork. We also first appeared the character Nikki and Alita. Nikki was a character who, she shared the first interracial kiss in comics. Yeah, where she made out with Vance Astro. First was Alita, who was also another Starhawk. Yep. We have more characters. It's basically similar in vein to Killraven, because it's confirmed that this version of Guardians of the Galaxy exists in the same timeline as the Killraven story, which is going on the pages of Amazing Adventures at this point in time. So they fight various villains like Karita and Tropicoco Man. It's like the fight some minor aliens. It's like, then of course, Silver Surfer pops up in the issue in a flashback. Yep. And then with the origin story with Starhawk in issue 9 gets wrapped up in issue 12. Yep. yeah, that's pretty much in the way actually gets wrapped up with issue 10. But yeah, still a lot of really fun stuff here. Yeah, apparently Starhawk and the male and female one had a kid together. And he died. Well, they had 3 kids together, apparently. Yeah, and they're only around for just a very brief period of time, just for Defenders, and they died in issue 11 for Marvel Presents. It's like, yeah, they're on for a small hand appearance before they just die. Yeah, sadly they had to, because they released some mind control stuff. And then 12 basically, like, is the last issue that appears in this book, where they do more stuff here. It's more like, basically the whole thing of this book is like a lot of sci-fi stuff. That's basically what this book is. But it's awesome. It's classic. Arnold Drake would just do the opening story itself. Oddly enough, when it comes to the Guardians of the Galaxy version of them anyways, he just do just the one story, the origin story. Excuse me, but the next appearance, he would actually not do it. Nope. That is done by Steve Gerber, who did a lot of their appearances afterwards. He also did Defenders appearances. Mara Presents, that is also with Steve Gerber. He basically was the primary writer for quite a while. Who wrote Thor Annual. That's some of Roger Stern and Lean Ween. And thinking, what did Stan Lee do? He may have basically worked on one of these books. I think he may have worked on. Now, they also include more 2 number 4. Which the only reason why they included this one because it's part 1 of a 2-part story. Yes. And according to Sal Bushman on these artwork too. But yeah. Really fun issues. Love them. Give this book a 10 out of 10. Can't wait for Volume 2 to come out so I can discuss basically them to their ongoing series that came out in the 90s. But yeah, that's particular view. Next up is going to be One Piece. Okay, next view. Bye.